Gary! The moment has come. The question, the thing that everyone's asking me. It's all over the place. Next-gen consoles. People are excited. Probably should be. It's not every year you get a brand new console from either Sony or Microsoft. Well, we have that happening this year, and so the question that's flying at me is, what should it be, Lou? Should I go for the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X? Now, I know there's also the Series S that's out there. I've done videos on it, but I think this is the showdown that people want to know about. The main objective of this video is just to give you a breakdown of the similarities, the differences, and also, thank goodness, we received a number of accessories as well, so we're going to look at some of those things. We're going to talk about external storage or expandable storage. We can talk about the controllers. We can finally just put these two consoles in the same place and talk about this big decision you're going to make this holiday season and going forward into the next couple of years, whether it's going to be the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X. Now, I have played both of these, playing late last night, playing games, trying to get to the bottom of it. So I'm coming at it from that perspective. I have been playing these, although I haven't tried out all the accessories. Okay, actually, you know what? I'm gonna just push the accessories to the side for a moment. We got the PlayStation headset, nice little charger setup. Of course, we've got the camera as well, the high-end Xbox controllers. We also even have the adaptive controller. All right, so consoles themselves. This has been talked about so much, the scale of the PlayStation 5. Now, honestly, I don't think it's that big of a deal. It does strike you immediately, but you're gonna get used to that over time, particularly since you can lay this one flat. And I'm not gonna spend too much time on that, but when you lay it down flat and you put it in a typical piece of entertainment furniture, I don't think you're gonna be sitting there measuring it every day. You're just gonna kind of get on with your life. But it is worth mentioning that Microsoft was able to fit very similar processing power, very similar horsepower, similar SSD performance and so forth. They were able to fit that inside of something smaller, so that's worthwhile. But in order to do that, they have a very, what would you say, utilitarian design, single fan design up on top. It's actually reminiscent of me to that old version Mac Pro, which was just, it just kind of, well, it was a cylinder, but it was a very similar cooling idea. On the PlayStation side of things, they have a similar large fan approach to cooling, which apparently is going to get smarter over time and depending on the different games that you're playing. PlayStation will sell a non-disc drive version. You see the disc drives over here. They're going to sell a digital-only version, whereas on the Xbox side, if you want the top-tier specification, you're going to get it with the disc drive, whether you like it or not. And then they're also going to sell you the Series S, which is their digital-only version, but it will lack some of the performance that the Series X has. So a slightly different approach there. The front of the unit here, you can see on the PlayStation 5, we have our USB Type-C connector, a USB Type-A, and a couple of buttons. Over here, we have one USB-A port, a sync button, and your disk drive power button here. So we have one more USB port on the front of the PS5 compared to the Xbox Series X. As we turn these guys around and check out their ports, you'll notice once again we have many similarities. Two USB Type-A ports. A LAN port is on both of them. We have our connection for power. Both have the integrated power bricks. No more external power bricks. That's a fantastic thing. We have our HDMI out on each of the two units. And then this is our major difference on the back of these two devices. Microsoft has chosen to go for this form of expandable storage. It is proprietary. This is a 1 terabyte card. Now, it's made by Seagate. It is very fast storage, and it needs to be for either of these systems, because one of the major benefits with this next-gen gaming is around your speed within the interface and also loading games. The load times are drastically reduced, even on some of your current favorites. So in order to expand the storage and launch games from that storage, you need to have fast storage. Now, this is not cheap, $220. And the thing is, since it's proprietary, presumably it's going to hold at that price and not be discounted too frequently because there's no other players in the marketplace that are making these. So that could be seen as a downside. Then on the upside of it, this is incredibly compact. it strikes me as being more durable or portable than the SSD expansion that you could do on the PlayStation 5. So it's a little bit more versatile. Pop it in, take it to a different system, take it out, throw another one in. It's just a little bit more versatile, but you probably in the long run will end up paying a little bit more for that when compared to the SSD expansion, which you install actually straight into the PlayStation 5. Now, this unit can also be placed on its side. It's just such a simple form, a simple shape, a rectangle. Now, depending on, again, what type of furniture or setup you have, maybe that makes a big difference to you. I've had both of these units in studio now. It's a big studio, so I'm not cramped for space or anything like that, but I've had them both in studio, and I quickly forget the fact that this one is far bigger than that one. The thing that gets talked about more frequently actually is the styling, which is quite a bit different. You have the simplest form possible, and you have an incredibly complex form here with this tapering and these various shapes, and then the lighting that pops up on the inside of the frame over here, and the black and white motif. I'll just say I feel like this feels a little bit newer to me. I like simple forms. I could totally get behind this one too. When it comes to styling, I don't think I would make my decision exclusively on that. However, I think if this thing is sitting in your living room, it's probably going to command a little bit more attention from your pals than this one will, if that matters to you. Now I'm going to bring over the controllers because this is the other area that many people have focused on. And it's funny, I was talking to Will earlier. I was thinking, man, when it comes to a new console, which part of it do you actually interact with when we're talking about hardware? Yes, this thing is doing all the important stuff, but really, this is what you touch and hold. This is your console, at least when you're sitting on the couch. This is what you interact with. And so from that standpoint, it was a little bit, can I say, a little bit less exciting on the Microsoft side, because this thing is so similar to the previous generation controller. That said, there's some nice compatibility stuff that comes along with that. By sticking with the old design, if you go ahead and interchange older controllers from the Xbox One with this one, it's not really a big deal. They will work, they're compatible, and also the other way around if you want to use this with an older console. There's something nice about that you don't need to replace all your controllers. Full disclaimer here, you will not be able to use PlayStation 4 controllers with PlayStation 5 games at all. So just to be clear, you're probably going to need a whole new outfit of controllers, and like I said, that could be a little bit more expensive. That said, I've been playing these things. I have played these consoles, and so have a number of other people. And this controller ends up becoming the story of the whole thing. Particularly when you boot up just the demo game that's on here, the Playroom app, which sort of utilizes all these features. Now, I don't know if all the game developers are going to come along and actually utilize what this thing can do, but when you see it and feel it, you realize that's something new. Very precise haptic stuff happening because they've got all these various motors. And so I was playing the new SpiderMan game, and I'm on the subway, and I'm feeling the bumps coming from different places. Then within the Playroom application game demo on here, you get a sense for what they're doing with the triggers, which is bananas. I've never experienced something like that before with such resistance and such a feedback where the trigger will change the amount of force necessary depending on where you're at within the actuation. It's very bizarre, difficult to explain. You can blow into the microphone, and it gives you a particular vibration. Of course, it's also got the motion stuff associated with it. So the controller, I mean, it's hard to not come to the conclusion that this is the more advanced controller. Now, both of them got an upgrade to USB Type-C, which is a huge thing for me. I mean, I was so over the micro thing with all the busted cables and the shoddy connection points. So that's a bonus no matter which platform you go for. USB Type-C. Now, granted, this one is fully rechargeable. The controller that ships with the Xbox Series X is a AA setup, which seems, again, a little bit odd in 2020. I'm sure there's some people out there that like that, but if you want to take it a step further, you just go out and maybe you grab the Elite model, which that brings us to this moment as we move through this comparison. Now, I promise there's going to be gameplay. I have a lot to say, particularly around the Spider-Man experience here on the PlayStation, because that is really one of your only next-gen exclusives that you're going to have at launch to play with. So I've been playing the Miles Morales game over here, and then booting up some older titles like Forza on the Xbox, but now at 4K, now at 60 frames on a beautiful OLED display. It's a whole different experience. This is the Elite Series 2. It's a good looking package. It's a good looking controller, optimized for you. Adjust thumbstick tension and select preferred thumbsticks and D-pad. So this is another level of configuration. This is not cheap though. $180 US. My goodness, the Xbox Series S is $299. This is almost $200. It's wild, but it gives you a lot of stuff over here. Inside the package, I mean, look at the configuration, thumbsticks, carrying case, and so forth. So, I mean, this is some kind of points in Microsoft's direction for offering up this first-party option. Granted, if you wanted some of these features like the paddles and so forth on PlayStation, you can expect some third-party manufacturers to do custom versions of this controller. I'd expect to see that fairly soon, if not already. All right, nice little carrying pouch here. You can take this on the road like a real professional. Look at that. Oh, wow, and you can charge it from within the case, Kirk. You didn't know that. You didn't know that. That's very cool. So it's protected, but it's also charging through the pass-through. And I think everything is inside that package. Oh, never mind. We got some stuff out of the package right now, including some paperwork over here. That's simple stuff, get you up and running. That's an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate code. It's a 14-day Xbox Game Pass Ultimate trial for whoever wants to use it. You just got to pause the video and be quick. All right. So let me put that stuff down there. This is your cable. This is like a nice braided cable to go with this controller right here. And it looks pretty long too. Again, like I said, on the micro USB side, I was so sick of it. Busted so many cables over the years. And it just is not a satisfying connection. On the other hand, Type-C, yes, thank you very much. So this is the cable that comes with it. It almost feels like a cable for a gaming mouse or something like that. And then inside the carrying case, we unzip. Woo! And look at all the goods in there. This is a substantial controller. I'm feeling metal on the back of it with the paddle buttons over here. Again, interchangeable. You can make your modifications back here. Rechargeable unit. This is all cool to the touch. Whatever material they're using here. I guess these are metal. That's pretty nice. And then again, we'll do our Xbox connection point. We'll do our USB Type-C connection point there. Now, the thing about this, the grip right away gets you. This is a rubberized, if you're a competitive type and your hands get a bit sweaty in that, you know, that end game, what a war zone scenario, this is gonna stay grippier no matter what's going on with your hands. That is a real rubberized grip comparative to this. This has texture to it, but it's just inherently a little more slippery. The thumbsticks feel far more substantial. See, these are lighter, whereas this is, I feel like I've got a tiny bit more precision over there. I can put different thumbsticks on there, so check it out. We have, of course, the standard Xbox thumbstick. We have this one, which is, well, it's still a concave, but it's a slightly flatter unit without a ring in the center. I kind of like that. We've also got the, I believe it's called convex, which is, this is a popular choice. So once again, some people in those first-person games, they're doing the shooting and whatnot, find more precision with something like this. This has rings inside of it as well. So we have a number of options here. Let's see. Oh, and then what the? Oh, that's cool. I did not realize this.
No, you removed that.
That's just for shipping?
Yeah.
That's incredible if that's just for shipping. Kirk's telling me to rip it off. He's right. That's just for shipping. This little microfiber Alcantara type deal just for shipping? Wow. Okay, I just realized something about this package. This little base unit magnetically sits over here, and that pass-through goes to the USB port on the back of this little charge dock. So actually, when you drop this in, it's charging right away.
That's so cool.
That is very cool.
This thing looks amazing.
Yes, this is amazing. This thing is super high quality. Now, you can remove this, obviously, and just have your charge dock live somewhere else, like this, outside of the case if you're not carrying it. So it's a nice little place to charge up your controller, so you won't even have to be inserting and removing your cable. That's going to fly right into this little magnetic charge base. All right, the other thing I like about this package, it keeps all your things together, all your little accessories. This tool is for swapping out your different attachments, and then there's also, you've also got your classic type of D-pad as an option if you prefer, depending on the type of games that you play, and all this stuff sort of fits back in here. Now, something I'm noticing is the different thumbstick attachments, you don't get two of each. So you kind of decide here, depending on which thumbstick you're gonna mod. Are they both? You can mod both like this. So you could have one of these and one of these. You could have a taller thumbstick on one, and then maybe you want to have your convex on the other. And these things, they just swap in so easily. These are your flatter units. Ooh, those are nice. I might go with those. But anyway, very cool, super configurable, super customizable. Yes, it has a crazy high price tag, but for those that take their gaming seriously, by the way, these, if you have no experience with like a SCUF controller, you map these to buttons that would typically be on the front. So then you don't need to remove your thumb from your second thumbstick in order to go hit these buttons. You stay here, and I'm triggering things in the back, whatever you might want to map it to, whether it's crouch or maybe you want to throw a grenade. It's completely up to you, but that is very cool. So I'm going to give Microsoft some points for at least having that option, even though it's really kind of a different thing because this is quite expensive compared to the console price. And on the PlayStation side, something similar will likely exist, but it will come from a third party. But there is your Elite controller. Now let's flip over to an accessory we have here for the PlayStation. This is the PlayStation Headset, official Pulse 3D wireless headset. Now they've done these in the past. You can see on the side here, compatible with PlayStation 5. This will also be compatible with PlayStation 4 and a PlayStation VR headset. It's a little wireless adapter to go with it, 12 hours of charge. This is just a simple, get you up and running headset for your PS5. Paperwork. I like the suspended headband as well. These tend to be quite comfortable. All right. So we have our USB adapter for wireless transmission. We have our USB Type-C to Type-A cable, and there's also a mini jack cable included to use these in a wired fashion if you choose to or if you need to. This is the headset. Of course, the entire aesthetic here, the motif, it fits in quite well. You have the whole package going on. A very deep ear cup as well, which I'm a fan of because, you know, it lets the ear sit in there comfortably and gives you a decent seal you off from the rest of the world. Some passive noise cancellation. Plenty of controls over here on the side, actually. Game and chat off and monitor, volume up and down, a dedicated mute switch, Type-C connection for power and charging. There's your mini jack connector over there, and the power switch is definitely a switch and not a button. I kind of like that. Less likely to hit it accidentally. And then otherwise, yeah, I guess it's time for a quick fit. Ooh, all right. So they're not the most isolating experience ever. However, they are crazy lightweight. Like I could wear those for a very long time and forget that they're there. So this is going to be a popular choice for people picking up the PlayStation 5. You want to have that first party integration. You want to have that. Well, Sony has a good history with headphones anyway. Some of my favorite headphones that exist right now are from Sony. So I don't doubt that they've executed here as well. Now, the next thing that they sent over is a controller charger, DualSense charging station. This is obviously a big convenience thing. Charge up 2 controllers, have a place to put them. You're less likely to lose them. They just always go into charge dock. There's a click-in design. You can free up your USB ports. See the little thumbs up there on the package? Free them up and charge 2 controllers at once. We have a Willy Do update. The headset is $100, and this charge station is $30. And I presume he's talking USD once again. All right, so here is the charge station. We have our power brick, pretty standard power brick, 2-prong power adapter, long enough to place behind a cabinet in your entertainment setup. And then this is your dual controller charger. I actually only have 1 controller here at the moment, but it'll work the same way. This is cool the way they've done the design. So your power brick is actually going to connect in the bottom here like that, but then like look how flat it creates so it stays flat. You see what I'm saying here? Very nice. And again, when it comes to the look of everything, it goes together quite nicely. We grab our controller and we slap it on there. And it clicks, and that's the end of it. And this is super simple. Wow. Wow. Would magnets have been nicer? Yeah, maybe. But I could get used to this. It's a $30 accessory, and it does free up those USB ports. And it's also, from a visual perspective, kind of a nice look to it when you have the console sitting there, and then you have your controllers charging beside it, but also kind of being presented so you can, I don't know, you can appreciate the controller as well, as opposed to just having it sit on the table. So that's a kind of nice little accessory. And there's some cool attention to detail on how this thing tapers in, similar to how, you see that through line there from a design perspective? They bring the taper of the actual console into the charger. Very cool. All right, the last PlayStation accessory is the HD camera. 1080p HD capture every unmissable moment in sharp, full HD picture quality. So what are they're thinking, because you're doing the game streaming now on your PlayStation. Aggressive. $60 USD for this accessory. This is similar unboxing experience to the charge dock. Here is the camera, and the look of it, it all fits together quite nicely. So how does it stand up? Is this a sticky? Oh, cool. So they've done a design here similar to a webcam where, yeah, I suppose you could kind of prop that on a display itself, but you can also arrange it in such a fashion to kind of work like a mini little tripod. All right, the last accessory is back on the Xbox side. This is their adaptive controller. It's really unique in the industry. The whole concept here is greater accessibility to gaming for people who may not find it all that easy or just can't interact with a traditional style controller. Wow. Now, it's important to note that this will work on the Xbox One. This is not exclusive to the Series X, and they put this out a little while ago, but it is a differentiating characteristic when you're considering these consoles, that this is even an option on the Microsoft side. Sony doesn't make something like this. If you check out the back of this thing, it is incredibly comprehensive. Y, X, B, A, pretty much everything that would be otherwise on your controller can be plugged into here as external units and separate buttons. Now, is it going to be the exact same experience as a controller? No, that's not really the point. The point is accessibility and at least offering up some type of control option for individuals who may not be able to interact with a traditional controller. I can imagine if you were a kid, that would be a big deal to you. This looks like it charges or connects over USB Type-C as well. There's a sync button. We have a USB Type-A port over here for what looks like your right thumbstick. And then over on this side for your left thumbstick, there's also a dedicated audio jack for a headset as well. Power port on the back. And then, of course, as mentioned, you can interface with all kinds of external control buttons and so forth through these ports on the back. It also, look at this, they give you various mounting points here. 1024, quarter 20, and 1024 again for mounting this thing to some sort of a screw mount or plate so that you can position it with more customization as well. So that is a cool thing that Microsoft has that doesn't exist on the Sony side, at least not a first-party product. Also, this will work on Windows and the previous generation Xbox. I think we've done it. I think that just about wraps up the physical comparison of the two units, and I'll just bring them together once again for scale. But we're about to now head to the TVs, of course, and we'll actually do some gameplay and compare how they operate, compare the interface a little bit, and just compare the overall speed of the two. Am I allowed to do all those things? Oh, goodness me, goodness gracious, I tell you. SpiderMan. I played the PlayStation 4 SpiderMan. This is a Miles Morales game. It is one of the few exclusive titles for next-gen gaming at the moment. And this is not my first time playing it. I've been playing it. You do notice a difference. Shadows, reflections, lighting. This is the stuff you expected to see, but also in detail. But the other thing that I noticed, your display matters. Oh, 4K. Oh, 60 frames. Yeah, it's great, but the display has to output so you can appreciate. So, I mean, what do I have? I have 77-inch. What do I have? I have OLED over here. You need to start thinking about your display as you're thinking about next gen. Because otherwise it could be a waste. If you got 1080 and some old equipment, it's no good. It's not going to be worth it. The other big immediate thing to talk about is load times and snappiness around the interface. Everything is quick. Everything is, well, it's a generation ahead. Honestly, even beyond the gameplay itself, just the in and out of games, you do notice that difference in load times, in load up screens, things like this, switching between apps and so on. So I'm just gonna, I just gotta beat at least this group of people. I'm just gonna beat this group of people real quick. And you gotta do these, you gotta pull those finishers, man. It's very important over here. You gotta be dodging. It's a big dodging thing in the Spider-Man games, you know? Like I have a gun? Oh God, this is not good. Finisher is big. You need it. You gotta finish these dudes off. I wiped them out, all right? Look at this. Nobody here. It wiped out. Okay, so that's good. I mean, look, Spider-Man is sort of the headline exclusive here. I know that's a lot of people are interested in it. But funny enough, this Astral Playroom game is kind of, this is preloaded on the system when you buy it, and it does a really good job of giving you a taste of what could be in the future with this console, which is a big part. I mean, these consoles, they sit around, you have them for 4 years, 5 years in some cases. This is very loud. And so game developers, this is opening up opportunities for them to take advantage specifically of this unusual controller and the sensors and various mechanics that are inside of it. Oh, the zipper. So, bam. Motion control as well in the controller. And also the resistance on the trigger, which is dynamic. Oh! Deadly. So there's room to grow as far as utilization of the controller for upcoming software, upcoming titles. The Playroom app kind of gives you a taste of it. The way they implemented this from a mechanical perspective, if you see the controller teardown, is wild. And it could be really cool in upcoming shooter style games where you could possibly utilize it. Now, on the Xbox side, I feel like playing Forza on this display, OLED, big enough, and with the new system, the Series X, I noticed a big improvement. So this is the game I want to showcase over here. And oh, by the way, the controller, the weight of it, man, this thing feels real professional, I'll tell you what. I'm using the Elite controller. I'm in an event. This is an early part of the game event. It should be easy, but what place am I in? Oh, I'm in first. You see, I told you it's early in the game. And I'm still driving like a maniac.
Keep it on the road, man.
I don't have to. Look, I'm in first, man. It's more important I keep those RPMs going. More important. I got the rear wheel drive. I got the old school muscle car. You can select a few different starter cars. I mean, it gets better than this. In fact, when you first boot up the Forza game, for those that are unfamiliar, they give you a McLaren Senna out the gate. Then they take it away from you. It's fairly rude. But anyway, I'm not going to complain because I just got an easy first place. See that, Will? That's an easy first place. So listen, the TV factor. These two things go hand in hand. If you appreciate the finer things, if you appreciate an increased frame rate and a higher resolution, well, then you need the TV to work in tandem to actually deliver that to you. What's your TV setup looking like? Because that's a huge factor. And so be prepared if you step into the next gen to start thinking about your next gen TV as well. Because I'm sitting here playing 4K 60 on 77 inches, and then I'm appreciating it. But in certain circumstances, even the Gears game that's over here will even go up to 120 frames if you're playing the multiplayer. So really start to think about your display as you think about your next gen console. It still comes down to software. As much as we've done this comparison, we looked at the hardware, we compared the controllers, the bells and whistles, as I just said, it still comes down to the software. Which games you're going to play, which games matter to you. And that's one place where maybe at the moment, PlayStation has a bit of an advantage, even though that's why I booted up Forza over here. It's an old Forza, but I'm trying to at least showcase something that's exclusive on the Xbox side. The PlayStation, for me, from a styling perspective, feels a little bit more futuristic. I've been a PlayStation guy, got many PlayStation 4s at home. But actually, my message here is that these two things are both in line with one another. These two things are both a similar improvement on the previous generation console experience. And so therefore, you can't go wrong. And who knows, maybe one of them is hard to find. You end up picking up the other one and so on. You will need to know and care about where your friends happen to be, because not all games are going to be cross-platform from that perspective. But anyway, there you have it. It is a comparison. It is a versus mode. If you're going to force me to choose, because I know you're going to, then I'm going to go ahead and take the PlayStation. There's something about the styling. I've also been a fan of the Naughty Dog games in the past, so I want to be capable of having those at launch immediately. And I just feel it's a little bit more ambitious from a styling approach, where you feel like you're holding something futuristic, whereas the Xbox feels a little bit more utilitarian. But if all you're gonna do is boot up the next COD when it comes out, I don't know how much that matters. And on the Microsoft side, you grab this controller and you do sort of feel like a professional. So anyway, I picked, all right? I picked the PlayStation, but they're both fantastic. It's progression. That's what you're looking for. You love tech. You love gaming. Hooray, we have brand new consoles.